TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserts that Israel does not intend to permanently occupy the Gaza Strip. Germany announces it will bar arms shipments to Israel for weapons earmarked for the war against Islamist Hamas. Turkey calls upon the Islamic world to unite against the State of Israel. Israel does not intend to permanently occupy the Gaza Strip. Rather, according to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the aims of the final push against two pockets of armed resistance by the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates aims to bring an end to Hamas's rule of terror and liberate the hostages.
No nation can accept a genocidal terrorist organization, an organization committed to its annihilation, a stone's throw from its citizens. Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Gaza, or rather if Hamas lays down its arms and releases all the remaining hostages. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will have overriding security responsibility. A security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. A civilian administration will be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel. That's our plan for the day after Hamas, and let me summarize it. 5 principles for concluding the war. 1, Hamas disarmed. 2nd, all hostages freed. 3rd, Gaza demilitarized. 4th, Israel has overriding security control. And 5, non-Israeli, peaceful civilian administration. By that I mean a civilian administration that doesn't educate its children for terror, doesn't pay terrorists, and doesn't launch terrorist attacks against Israel. That's what we want to see in Gaza. So it's neither Hamas nor the PA. That's our plan.
Prime Minister Netanyahu continued by stressing that Hamas's continued defiance forces Israel to act, while Jerusalem also aims, in contrary to false claims, to ensure the unhindered flow of humanitarian aid into the heavily battered territory.
Given Hamas's refusal to lay down its arms, Israel has no choice but to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas. Now, we've done a great deal. We have about 70 to 75% of Gaza under Israeli control, military control. But we have 2 remaining strongholds, okay? These are Gaza City and the central camps in the Muasi. That's roughly, it's schematically presented here, but it's fairly accurate. Last Thursday, Israel's Security Cabinet, instructed the IDF to dismantle the 2 remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza City and the central camps. Contrary to false claims, this is the best way to end the war and the best way to end it speedily. We will do so by first enabling the civilian population to safely leave the combat areas to designated safe zones. In these safe zones, they'll be given ample food, water, and medical care, as we've done before.
Netanyahu went on to underscore that contrary to the plague of disinformation about Israel, close to 2 million tons of aid have entered the Gaza Strip since the IDF initially launched its defensive war against the Islamist Hamas in wake of the atrocities committed against the communities of southern Israel on October 7th of 2023.
And again, contrary to false claims, our policy throughout the war has been to prevent a humanitarian crisis, while Hamas's policy has been to create it. Since the beginning of the war, Israel has let in close to 2 million tons of aid. I know of no other army that has enabled such aid to go to the civilian population in enemy territory. Now, if we had a starvation policy, no one in Gaza would have survived after 2 years of war. But our policy has been the exact opposite. We let in, as I said, almost 2 million tons of aid and sent millions of text messages, millions of phone calls to Gazans to get out of harm's way. Yet in the last few months, Hamas has violently looted the aid trucks meant to get to Palestinian civilians. They deliberately created a shortage of supply. And the UN consistently refused, until recently, to distribute the thousands of trucks that we led into Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing. So there are problems. We've had tons of uncollected food rotting on the Gazan side of the border because the UN was and still is unwilling to deliver all of it.
In a concentrated effort to further alleviate the suffering of the non-combatant residents of the Gaza Strip, a three-point plan is being formulated.
First, designating rather safe corridors for aid distribution. You can drive trucks there, and you'll be safe. Second, increasing the number of safe distribution points managed by the Gazan humanitarian foundations. And three, airdrops. That's airdrops done by the Israeli Air Force, and we're inviting others to join us. The result has been a humanitarian surge, which we're coordinating with President Trump and his team, and hundreds of trucks have gone in recent days. This is preventing hunger, but it's not prevented the global campaign of lies that we have all witnessed. So in Gaza, despite Hamas's obstacles, 2 million people are now getting access to humanitarian aid. But I'll tell you who isn't. The only ones that are being deliberately starved in Gaza are our hostages.
Meanwhile, in New York, the associate spokeswoman for UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres relayed a statement in which the leader of the world body urged Jerusalem to alter course. Alongside the United Nations, which has adopted a political stance vis-à-vis Israel, many European and Western-oriented governments have condemned Israel's intentions, with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz going as far as announcing that Berlin will now bar arms shipments to Israel that are earmarked for use in the war against the Islamist Hamas in the Gaza Strip.
The government of the Federal Republic of Germany has stood firmly by Israel for 80 years. That will not change. We will continue to help this country defend itself. We have expanded our support, but we cannot supply weapons in a conflict that is being attempted to be resolved exclusively by military means, which could claim hundreds of thousands of civilian casualties, and which requires the evacuation of the entire city of Gaza. Where are these people supposed to go? We cannot do that. We are not doing that, and I will not do that either.
Interestingly enough, while Western nations condemned the Israeli government for its anticipated offensive, the finance minister of the Netanyahu government, namely Bezalel Smotrich, has called on the Israeli prime minister to reconsider this plan, insisting that it is too lenient and that it would not produce a decisive victory against the Islamist terror groups in the Gaza Strip.
The Prime Minister and the Cabinet surrendered to weakness, allowed feelings to overcome brains, and decided again to do more of the same thing. To launch a military operation, which is not aimed at victory, but only at pressuring Hamas to bring it to a partial hostages deal, while clearly saying that should Hamas agree to a deal, we will also agree to stop again, to retreat again, to allow it to recover and rearm. And then again. This is not how you win. This is not how hostages return. This is not how you win a war.
Minister Smotrich, who is considered to represent the far-right fringes of the Netanyahu government, continued by casting doubt on the Prime Minister's ability to lead the country to victory.
I lost faith that the Prime Minister is able and is willing to lead the IDF there. So a war, in order to win all the way through, yes, even if it costs a heavy price. But a partial move that is only meant to bring Hamas back into the negotiation room with national humiliation and surrender to terror, no and no. Mr. Prime Minister, it is not too late to change your mind. Convene the cabinet again and announce unambiguously that there are no more halfway stops, that there will be no more partial deals. That this time we go for a sharp, clear move for victory that will end with the complete surrender of Hamas and the return of all hostages in one stage. Or its complete defeat and elimination, the annexation of large parts of the Gaza Strip, and opening its gates for willful emigration. Only this way, with God's help, we will win.
Meanwhile, in Egypt, Cairo's top diplomat, Badr Abdelati, hosted his Turkish counterpart, Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, during the course of which both top diplomats called upon the Muslim world to unite against Israel.
As you know, the Netanyahu government has taken a new step and announced its intention to completely occupy Gaza. We categorically reject this plan. This plan is a new phase in Israel's expansionist and genocidal policies. As the Islamic world, we must act in complete solidarity against this step and mobilize the international community.
It is important to know that Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan recently hosted a senior delegation of the Islamist Hamas at his office in Ankara, after which Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan published a statement in which he proclaimed, quote, "The crimson door of freedom will surely be opened. Our Gazan brothers and sisters will, Allah willing, live freely forever in their homeland, on that blessed land watered with the blood of martyrs. When that glorious day arrives, if Allah grants it, we will be there too." Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. Please continue praying for the hostages in Hamas captivity. Pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hassan wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.